Hi guys and welcome to the video. So, I just got done watching the Orville Season 3 Episode 9. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of the plot of the episode and then I'll get into some more detail a little later on in the video. So this is your spoiler warning. Spoilers are coming. So this episode is roughly about an hour and 20 minutes long, just maybe a little shy of that. And it covers an awful lot in a very short space of time. The episode opens with an alliance forming between the Krill and the Mocklans, something we pretty much predicted would happen once the Mocklans were expelled from the Union in the previous episode. So you have Chancellor Talea and the Mocklan delegation basically talking out, being convinced to join together to stop the Kalon and fight the Union. We have the Orville and a fleet that's surrounding Saleya, and Charlie and Isaac have managed to concoct a device that will obliterate Kalon vessels in pretty much a spectacular fashion. So you could have, say, 40 Kalon vessels. They activate this device, which sends out a pulse which essentially obliterates any Kalon vessels. So the Union's plan is to use this weapon as a deterrent rather than a full-scale genocidal invasion of Kalon, and they decide to visit Kalon and convince the Kalons to stop what they're doing or face complete extinction. Now the Kalons agree to this and they stand down. However, the device is stolen straight off of Earth by none other than our friend Ted Danson. Very uncharacteristic. I don't think much of this has been set up previously. There's not a lot of setup to the events that transpire in the episode, but he steals the device, or certainly his subordinates steal the device, and he takes it to the Krill and Mocklans, who would be willing to completely exterminate the Kalons. It's clear that he doesn't want the Kalons to merely stop what they're doing. He wants to make sure that they never get the chance to continue their campaign for extermination. He delivers the device to the Krill and Mocklans, and his shuttle is promptly destroyed as he's planning to leave. So bye-bye Ted Danson, he is gone. I don't think he's actually coming back from that, if he really was on that shuttle. So upon realising that the device has been stolen, the Orville is assigned to try and find out where it is. They manage to track the shuttle's ion trail, where they discover the remains of the shuttle, and they actually trace the destination, or the intended destination of the ships, to a remote planet where a massive quantum core is being developed. Now, the idea behind this is that if you have a big enough quantum core, you can send a pulse out for light years. That would essentially destroy every Kalon ship within that radius, and that's what the Mocklans and the Krill want to do. Now, the crew of the Orville know that they can't take on such a huge fleet, a huge force, so they enlist the help of the Kalons, who are most displeased the Orville has lost this device, and they join forces. There's a retrieval mission or a seek and destroy mission, depending on how it goes, and there's a flying firefight to the facility. There's a lot of pretty impressive ship-to-ship combat happening in this part of the episode. And you've got Isaac, and you've got the Kalon Primary, you've got Charlie, Tala, and Grayson all heading down to this facility to breach it and destroy the device, or at least stop the device in its tracks. Talea's there. Talea's overseeing the deployment of this weapon. There's a lot of high stakes action scenes in this episode, certainly in this section of the episode. It all culminates to a grand finale with a spoiler alert, big spoiler is coming. Charlie sacrifices herself to destroy the weapon, and the remaining members of the landing party manage to escape the blast and make it back to the Orville. So we have no more Charlie Burke. Charlie Burke has been seemingly vaporized at this point. The episode ends on a fairly low note, obviously, with Charlie's funeral, in which Isaac chooses to speak and says some rather touching things. It's a very touching moment, and I really felt it. Now, that's pretty much the episode. That's what the episode is. Now that I've done the breakdown, and that's pretty much what happens in the episode. There's a lot of detail, a lot of things that I'm missing, and you might think that it's jumping from one thing to another, but an awful lot happened in this episode, and there wasn't an awful lot of substance to this episode. It was a great episode. I was thoroughly entertained, really enjoyed it. There were some fantastic scenes. There were some absolutely magical moments between the crew. Charlie's final moments were spectacular in my view. I thought it was certainly an interesting way to go. I kind of figured someone would die in this episode, and we actually lost two people. We lost Ted Danson and we lost Charlie. However, this episode feels like 3 to 4 episodes condensed into one. It seems like they wanted to rush towards an ending. Now, they did this somewhat in season 2, where you had the massive conclusion, or I say conclusions, certainly temporary conclusion to the Kalon and all of that. But the final episodes weren't one of a massive arc. It was a separate story that was being told. I believe it was the Kelly time travel story. With this season, it would appear that they're going very much in the same direction, because there is resolution at the end. The Kalons do choose to certainly provisionally join the Union, which at the beginning of this episode, they were at war. They were hell-bent on extermination. And through the course of the episode, the Kalon primary, he witnesses certain things that eventually convinces him not to carry out their extermination plan. Isaac's very convincing as well, because of his experiences with organic life. Like I said, this episode feels rushed. It feels like it was far too condensed, and certainly would have worked as a 4-part ending to the series. Now, I don't know what the next episode is going to be like. I'm fairly certain it's going to be a separate story. I was concerned when I was watching this episode that they were attempting to close the entire series off, that they were trying to bookend the series in case of cancellation. I certainly don't know whether the Orville is going to have another season. I sincerely hope it does, as I've said in my previous videos. I think it deserves another season. I think it deserves 5 seasons, okay, and then see how it goes from there. But it all depends on the interest and whether or not the cast and crew are interested in coming back. We still have 1 episode left. There is still 1 episode remaining. I've got no idea what it's going to be all about. I've not watched any promotional sneak peeks or anything like that. I don't want to go into it knowing anything that happens in the episode. So this episode, like I said, there was an awful lot happening, and things seemed to happen too fast. It was almost like a highlights episode from 4 episodes worth of material. There were some wonderful moments, certainly, like I said before, at Charlie's funeral. It was very emotional. I wasn't a massive fan of Charlie Burke. She seemed like a little bit of a Mary Sue. However, it became apparent she was just incredible. She was incredibly flawed as well, which most Mary Sues aren't. They don't have any flaws. Now, whatever's going on behind the scenes on the show, I'm really not interested about that. I'm interested in the characters on this show, if you know what I mean. I don't think Charlie's coming back. I don't think there's a way, unless time travel was involved, for her to escape that blast. She was right in the face of it. She was looking at the core. Now, they could do what they did with Stranger Things. She could be in Russia for all we know. However, I don't think that's where they're going to go with this. I think Charlie is gone. She may reprise her role in terms of a flashback or a hallucination or something like that. But in terms of the character, I think the character's gone. Whereas previous episodes, you really felt the gravitas and the impact of the story and things that were happening in the story. This episode was extremely action heavy. It did have some good philosophical points. It did have some well-constructed arguments, both for and against the Kalon joining, both for and against using the weapon in a genocidal way, exterminating all of the Kalons. But in the end, I think they made the right decision there. I don't think it has the pull or the impact of the previous episodes, certainly the last 4 episodes, which were incredibly powerful episodes. This episode felt like it was trying to close the season off, even though we've got another episode coming. Who knows, the next episode, they may decide to do a comedy-heavy episode, in which case, welcome back the Orville. Now, this season so far has been an absolute belter of a ride, and I've enjoyed every second of it. I don't really get to say that about an awful lot of shows, but the Orville did impress me, and this season really has impressed me. This episode, I think, it isn't as good as those other episodes in terms of, like I've already said, story, but the episode was highly entertaining. Although it had a very sort of dour end to it, it was very moving. We've got 1 more episode to go, and then The Orville is done. If you like this video, then please hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then you know where that subscribe button is. You feel free to give it a push. I recently did a video where I did some painting, so if you haven't seen that, then please give it a watch, see what you think of it. I think this weekend I'm going to do a drawing video as well, get the old pencils out and have some fun with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you are all okay where you are, and until the next time, you look after yourselves, you look after one another. Take care. Bye bye for now.
Stop the violence of the war in my head. Time's the healer, the eraser of all done and said. And as I fall back to my shelter, I know I'll